Dear Libra soul, you're here because something extraordinary is about to unfold: a sum of money, a symbolic farewell, and a miracle that may change everything before the year ends. Let me begin by asking you this: have you recently felt an invisible pull? As if life is shifting beneath your feet but you can't yet see what's being rearranged? If so, this is not a coincidence. You have been guided here for a reason. Welcome to Zodiac Whisper Tarot, where we don't simply read the stars, we translate them into messages meant for your soul. This is a sacred space for intuitive discovery, emotional healing, and divine alignment. And Libra, if you are watching this, the universe is whispering something powerful to you right now. From December 23rd to the final days of the year, a gateway is opening for you. Two energies are meeting, one of release, and one of reward. There is a financial shift taking shape behind the scenes, something tied to ancestral resources, unexpected compensation, or spiritual inheritance. But it is arriving intertwined with a departure. Someone, or something, may be exiting your life, and this exit, though difficult, will activate a higher form of abundance. Sometimes blessings come wrapped in endings. And here's the truth: this isn't just a video about prediction. This is a moment of sacred preparation. You are being called to release what no longer supports you, and to receive what has always been yours, just waiting for you to be ready. What if I told you that your ability to surrender now could unlock a 33-year cycle of personal prosperity and emotional freedom? Think about it. What are you still carrying into this season that doesn't serve you anymore? Is it a person? A memory? A version of yourself that you've outgrown? Let me ask you gently, are you open to letting go, so that something greater can finally enter? If that question resonates, it's because your inner wisdom already knows the answer. Libra, the universe is calling your name, softly but clearly. There are no accidents here. If you found this message, it's because divine timing has guided you. And if you stay with me until the end of this reading, you will understand why. But first, I invite you to do something intentional, something that energetically aligns you with this moment. In the comments below, write this affirmation to activate your connection to what is coming: I release what no longer serves me. I am open to receive. I am ready for my miracle. When you type those words, you are not just commenting, you are declaring. You are choosing to shift. You are claiming the future that's reaching for you now. And before we go deeper, allow me a moment of genuine gratitude. I want to thank you from my heart for being here. For every like, every thoughtful comment, every subscription, and every time you share these messages, you are not just supporting this channel. You are building a spiritual family. You are helping keep this sacred circle alive. Your presence here matters. It means something to me, to this community, and to the energy that brought you here. So stay with me, Libra. Because what the stars are about to reveal to you about money, endings, healing, and divine favor is breathtaking. You won't want to miss a single moment. Let's begin. It's not always easy to explain the kind of transformation that arrives quietly at first, like a whisper on the edge of change. But if you felt a deep stirring lately, a sense that your inner foundation is shifting even if the outer world looks the same, you're not imagining it. You are tuning into a larger energetic rhythm, one that's directly tied to the current movements in your birth chart, especially the slow but monumental influence of Pluto. Pluto, the planet of transformation, endings, and soul-level rebirth, is now illuminating two powerful areas of your chart: the 4th and the 8th houses. These are not light topics. They are the undercurrent of our emotional and psychological security. They are the roots beneath everything that blooms and everything that dies. The 4th house represents your home, your family lineage, your emotional base. When this part of your chart is activated, especially by Pluto, things long buried may resurface. You might find yourself feeling emotions you thought you had already processed, or facing truths about family, ancestors, or the origin of certain beliefs that shaped your life in invisible ways. This energy isn't here to punish you, it's here to liberate you. It peels back the layers so you can begin again, this time with eyes open and a heart more grounded in truth than in tradition. Simultaneously, the 8th house, the house of shared resources, inheritances, deep psychological transformation, and even loss, is also receiving Pluto's intense gaze. This is the area where power dynamics are rewritten. Where what you thought belonged to someone else may suddenly come into your hands, and where the structures you relied on, financial, relational, emotional, may dissolve so something more aligned can take their place. For Libra, a sign often associated with balance and harmony, this can feel disorienting. But trust this: what is leaving your life now is doing so to make space for what your soul has long called in. Think of it as a 12-year karmic cycle that is now completing itself. Patterns set in motion over a decade ago, perhaps through decisions you barely remember, or family narratives you didn't even choose, are now delivering their final message. Some of you may receive unexpected news related to a property, an inheritance, or an old investment. Others might feel the emotional inheritance more than the material one, the weight of unspoken stories, generational expectations, or burdens passed down quietly, now surfacing so they can be released. It's important to take a breath here. Not everything that comes to the surface is meant to be carried forward. Sometimes, simply acknowledging the truth is the final step in breaking a cycle. There is a quiet miracle in this moment. It doesn't always arrive as fireworks or dramatic signs. Often, it looks like you finally realizing that you're no longer afraid to let go. That you can grieve something without collapsing under it. That you can say, "This ends with me," and feel peace instead of guilt. Even in the middle of this emotional excavation, there is still light. For those of you tuned into the subtle languages of energy and intention, you'll notice the power of symbolic timing. The number 8, the shape of infinity turned upright, becomes a beacon in this cycle. It is the number of empowerment, karmic return, and material strength after emotional growth. If you were born on the 8th, 17th, 26th, or have an 8 life path number, you may feel this more deeply. Your soul signed up to rebuild not just for yourself, but for those who came before you and those who will follow. Even colors can be guides. Deep green and gold are the frequencies of this season, not just for aesthetics, but for energetic alignment. Green calls in healing, the kind that mends quietly. Gold reflects your inner richness and attracts the kind of prosperity that is built on authenticity, not hustle. During these final days of December, I encourage you to stay open, not just to what is coming, but to what is clearing. Create gentle space in your daily life, even a few minutes to breathe with intention. You don't need to meditate for hours. You simply need to be present enough to say, "I see what's leaving, and I'm ready to welcome what's next." These are the moments when your trust becomes the seed of transformation. When grace enters not as thunder, but as stillness. And that's more than enough. There are moments in life when the veil between what was and what is becoming grows thinner. You may not see the shift with your eyes just yet, but you can feel it like a current just beneath the surface, tugging at your awareness, asking you to pay attention. This is one of those moments. And the cards drawn for you in this season confirm it: the Death, the Ten of Pentacles, and the Tower. Together, they speak not of disaster, but of realignment, of truth surfacing, legacy awakening, and a necessary ending preparing you for an unexpected blessing. The Death card often evokes fear at first glance, but its message is not about finality, it's about release. It is the quiet liberation that comes when you finally loosen your grip on something that has run its course. This isn't about failure or punishment. It's about honoring what has been while making sacred space for what could be. Sometimes the most compassionate thing we can do for ourselves is to stop carrying what has become too heavy. When this card shows up, it invites you to surrender control, not in weakness, but in wisdom. To allow the old identity, the old fear, the old expectation to gently fall away, like leaves at the end of a long season. Then comes the Ten of Pentacles, a card of ancestral wealth, generational stories, and material blessings rooted in the past. It speaks to what has been built before you, perhaps even by those who are no longer here in the physical sense. It suggests the arrival of something valuable, often through channels you wouldn't expect: an inheritance delayed, a property title discovered, a financial gesture from someone who once held your hand or shaped your childhood. But the wealth this card speaks of isn't just financial, it's the kind that anchors you. A homecoming of sorts. It's stability that doesn't just support your bank account, but your nervous system, your sense of place in the world. And then, the Tower, the great disruptor. The revelation. The breaking of illusion. This card does not arrive to destroy for the sake of chaos. It comes to clear what has been built on faulty ground, so something truer can rise. The Tower breaks through denial. It shocks you, yes, but only because you've grown used to the weight of something that was never meant to last. It often comes in moments where a truth can no longer be avoided, where something long hidden finally demands to be faced. In the context of this reading, the Tower may represent a moment when family dynamics shift abruptly, or when information comes to light that alters everything you thought you knew about your history, your place in the lineage, or your relationship to money and legacy. These three cards, side by side, are not a warning. They are a passage. Together, they tell the story of someone, maybe even you, being called to let go of an old narrative, to face a truth that shakes you, and to receive something of real value on the other side. It may not come without tears. It may ask you to grieve a version of life you thought would always be. But it also opens a vault you didn't know you had access to. Imagine this: a door quietly closes, and at the same time, a key turns in a lock somewhere you couldn't see. A hand that once let go of yours long ago is now the very hand that wrote your name on a gift that's finally arriving. And maybe, just maybe, this gift can only come when you stop holding on to everything else. So ask yourself gently if you knew that what you had to let go of would make room for total freedom. Would you be willing to let it go? Type your answer into the comments if you feel ready. Let this be your declaration: I choose truth. I release the past. I welcome what was always mine. And then breathe. Sometimes, all you need is the courage to say yes to what's already on its way. Sometimes, after we receive a message as powerful as the one revealed by your cards, the next natural question is, now what? What do I do with this truth that stirred something inside me? How do I respond to a calling that feels both sacred and deeply personal? You don't need to have all the answers right now. But you can begin with a simple, powerful act: conscious release. It's one of the most transformative steps you can take, not only energetically, but psychologically and emotionally as well. When you intentionally let go of what no longer serves your journey, you don't just create space, you create momentum. I invite you, gently and without pressure, to try something with me. Take a piece of paper, or, if you don't have one nearby, just close your eyes and visualize and write down 3 things you are ready to release. These can be anything: a relationship you know has run its course but you're still emotionally attached to, a habit that keeps pulling you back into doubt or delay, or even a pain you haven't been able to name but you've been carrying in your chest for far too long. Be honest, but kind with yourself. Let this list be an act of clarity, not judgment. When you're ready, burn the paper safely, if you choose to do so in reality, or simply imagine the words turning to ash in your mind. Watch as they lift into the air, weightless now, no longer attached to your future. This is more than visualization. It's energetic detachment. The moment you choose to release is the moment your vibration begins to rise. The law of attraction teaches us that you can't bring in new miracles when your hands are full of old burdens. You must make energetic room for the blessings that are already orbiting around you, waiting for your readiness to draw them in. When you let go, even symbolically, you're telling the universe, "I'm not afraid to lose what's outdated, because I trust what's coming is better aligned." You're speaking in a language the universe understands, action born from belief. This is what I call emotional composting. The very things that once felt heavy or painful, the tears, the misunderstandings, the goodbyes, can become nourishment for your next chapter if you allow them to return to the soil of your life as wisdom. Nothing is wasted. Not even your grief. I want to say something tender here, especially to those of you watching who may feel like you've been in a long winter, emotionally or spiritually. I know how hard it is to keep faith when nothing around you seems to be changing. But just because you can't see the roots growing doesn't mean they aren't. Some of God's greatest miracles begin in the hidden places, not in the spotlight, but in the silence of your private prayers, your quiet courage, and your willingness to try again. Sometimes we plant with tears, unsure if anything will grow. But if you've shown up today, even just by watching, by breathing deeply, by whispering, "I'm ready," then you've already sown something powerful. And what is sown in tears will one day return in joy. So I encourage you to make this moment sacred. Name what you're releasing. Let it go with intention. Then speak life into your future. Declare what you wish to call in. And know this, you don't have to do it perfectly. You just have to do it sincerely. The path opens for those who step forward even trembling. And if you feel called to share your release in the comments, you're not just helping yourself, you may also inspire someone else who needed permission to let go, too. Write, "I release. I forgive. I receive." Because the act of writing it down, even here, is a form of energetic courage. And courage always attracts miracles. Perhaps after all the letting go, all the quiet releasing, and all the inner rearranging, you're beginning to notice something unusual, not loud, not urgent, but undeniably present. The soft nudges, the strange timing, the repeating patterns, the names that keep resurfacing in conversations or dreams. These are not coincidences. They are the universe moving in whispers. From December 23rd to 31st, the energetic field around you is wide open, Libra. During this time, subtle signs may become more frequent. Not because the world has changed, but because you are now more attuned. Your soul has created space, and that space is fertile ground for clarity. You may receive a phone call from someone you haven't heard from in years, and something they say lands directly in your chest. You might come across an old photo or song that pulls up a memory you didn't even realize you still needed to feel. Or perhaps a dream comes not once, but again and again, asking to be remembered, asking to be written down. These are not accidents. They are divine breadcrumbs on the trail of your awakening. I encourage you to keep a journal this week, not just any journal, but a sacred container. Call it a dream log, a synchronicity tracker, a record of the subtle, because what seems small now may carry a much deeper message later. Write down anything that feels odd, repetitive, or emotionally charged. Even if it doesn't make sense yet. Especially if it doesn't. Energetic signs often appear in the mundane, a random license plate, a stranger's words on the street, an animal that keeps crossing your path, or a moment of déjà vu so strong it stops you in your tracks. These are taps on the shoulder from something higher, not to frighten you, but to remind you that you're not alone on this path. That your steps are being guided, and that your openness to receive is being met with messages to confirm you are on the right course. Sometimes we wait for a voice from the sky, a burning bush, or a grand revelation to know we are supported. But more often than not, divine timing whispers through the details. Not with fireworks, but with fingertips. The truth isn't hiding, it's knocking gently. Your only job is to be present enough to answer the door. This is the part where many people get distracted. They talk themselves out of what they feel. They dismiss the pattern as random, the nudge as imagination. But your intuition is a sacred sense, one that sharpens in silence and strengthens in trust. When something shows up repeatedly, emotionally, or unexpectedly, pause. Don't run from it. Ask it what it wants to show you. Listen with your heart, not just your logic. And if you're someone who has prayed in private, whispered your fears into the darkness, or asked quietly for a sign, consider this your response. Sometimes the answer doesn't come in the form of words. Sometimes it's a moment that gives you goosebumps. Sometimes it's someone sending this video to you at just the right time. That's not luck. That's alignment. Write down what you experienced this week. Treat the ordinary like it carries gold, because it does. Your attention is the activator. And don't underestimate the signs just because they're quiet. The universe rarely yells. It knocks. Softly. Repeatedly. Just enough for you to wonder if something sacred is calling your name. And Libra, maybe it is. If you've already received a sign, or something unusual has happened recently that stirred your emotions, share it in the comments. Someone else may be experiencing the same thing. And in that shared recognition, we all remember the path is sacred, and we were never meant to walk it alone. Type this if you feel it: I hear the knock. I see the signs. I'm listening now. The next door is already waiting. Let's keep walking together. Maybe now, after all the releasing, after noticing the signs, after listening quietly to what's been unfolding within and around you, you're starting to understand something deeper. The gift coming into your life, whether it's financial, relational, or something quietly miraculous was never about chance. It wasn't random, and it certainly wasn't luck. It was a seed planted long ago, watered by your patience, your restraint, your silent prayers, and the invisible choices you've made when no one else was watching. There are some blessings that arrive not because we demanded them, but because we withstood what tried to break us. This is one of those seasons. Libra, you've been through chapters that tested you in ways words can't quite explain. Maybe you supported others when you had nothing left to give. Maybe you walked away from comfort because your intuition told you something better was possible. Or maybe you simply held your head up when everything inside you wanted to collapse. That strength counts. It's written into the energy you carry. And now, what's coming to you is not a handout. It's a return. I want to share a small story that I believe captures the heart of this moment. A woman, who had been quietly tending to her elderly parents for years, added their names into a simple prayer notebook. She wrote no requests, just names. Days passed. Then weeks. Nothing changed until one day she received a letter from an estate attorney. A distant relative, someone she hadn't spoken to in decades, had passed and named her as a beneficiary. She was stunned. Not because of the money but because of the timing. She said she didn't feel rich, she felt seen. As if the universe or something greater had noticed the way she loved in silence. And maybe that's the kind of miracle we're talking about here. Not one that drops from the sky, but one that roots itself in the exact corner of your life where you thought no one was watching. If you've been giving without recognition, staying faithful without proof, or choosing light even when the room was dark, then perhaps you already know, this is your season of return. From an energetic perspective, the law of attraction reminds us that manifestation has little to do with wishing, and everything to do with resonance. What you nurture even in private begins to call forward its reflection. But the universe doesn't always rush. It waits for alignment. It waits until you're not desperate for the outcome, but strong enough to receive it with clarity, humility, and power. And now, Libra, you are. That's why the abundance arriving now won't control you, because you've already proven that you don't chase it. You've learned to let go of attachment. You've trusted in timing. And most of all, you've grown into someone who no longer measures value by numbers alone. That is freedom. And that's why money or love, or recognition can now come into your life not as a test, but as a tool. Not to own you, but to serve you. Let this remind you that not all rewards come in noise. Some arrive in stillness, in envelopes, in unexpected emails, in the simple moment when you feel peace without knowing why. So as you continue into the last days of this month, carry this knowing with you: nothing was wasted. Not your waiting. Not your tears. Not your silence. They have all been counted. And now, what was promised begins to unfold, not because you begged for it, but because you became someone who could be trusted with it. If this message resonates, I invite you to type this in the comments below: I've earned this peace. I welcome what is mine. Because sometimes the most powerful miracles come not when we ask, but when we're finally ready to receive. And Libra, you are ready. Libra, if you've made it to this moment, then you already know this wasn't just a video. This was a mirror. A quiet unveiling. A sacred message written not just in the stars, but in the silent chapters of your own resilience. And perhaps now, more than ever, you're beginning to feel it, not just think it, but truly feel it in your body, in your energy, in your timing, that something new is ready to begin. And it begins with you. The cycle has already started. The shifts you've been sensing aren't ahead of you, they're already here. The 33-year abundance portal, the legacy you didn't know you were destined to carry, the money that isn't just about wealth but about restoration, it's already being activated. But none of it can fully unfold unless you allow yourself to receive. Not half-heartedly. Not fearfully. But fully, with the quiet boldness of someone who knows they were made for more. And maybe now is the time to pause and ask yourself, have I truly allowed myself to become wealthy? Not just in the material sense, but emotionally, spiritually, energetically. Have I given myself permission to let go of what's familiar in exchange for what's aligned? Am I living a life that is mine, or am I still carrying expectations, roles, or versions of success that were never mine to begin with? These questions aren't here to shame you, they're here to awaken you. Because the truth is, you are the gatekeeper of your next chapter. You are the one holding the key. And all of this, the signs, the cards, the synchronicities, the whispers of destiny, they've simply been waiting for you to say, yes. So I invite you, right now, to make that declaration. Say it aloud. Write it in the comments. Anchor it in your reality. I choose to let go. I choose to receive. I am free. 888. Let that be your energetic signal to the universe that you are ready to lead, not from fear, but from truth. And as you move forward into this portal of completion and new beginning, I leave you with this quiet wish. May the next sign arrive clearly. May the next opportunity feel unmistakable. May the next deposit into your life, whether it's money, clarity, or peace, arrive in perfect timing. And may your heart exhale, just once, in full relief, knowing it's finally here. Thank you for spending this sacred time with me. Thank you for listening, not just with your mind, but with your soul. If this message resonated with you, if something in your spirit whispered, "This was for me," I invite you to share this video, not just as content, but as a seed of faith you're planting in someone else's life. Because you never know who might need this exact message, in this exact moment. And if you haven't yet, I warmly invite you to subscribe to Zodiac Whisper Tarot. Not just to stay connected, but to stay supported. This is more than a channel. It's a sanctuary. A space for your intuition to be nurtured. A space where divine timing meets divine remembrance. And you, Libra, are a sacred part of it. I'll see you in the next message. But until then, keep your heart open. Keep your hands open. And trust not in luck, but in alignment. Everything is already unfolding. Just don't forget, you're the one opening the door.